Chapter 7. The son of a bitch, Ellis, or whatever this bastard truly was, sneered from ear to ear as the fedora slipped from his hand and landed on the wet tiles of the station entrance. The brim collapsed into a shallow pool, sinking into the storm water that spread across the floor. Slowly, he rose, vertebra cracking, his body unfurling with the sluggish menace of something far too certain of its own power. He spoke with a menacing tone. Hate. Hate for our kind, for mortals with free will. His endless servitude to cosmos, his true form, an abomination, had made him furious, envious. That fury was his fire, his reason to torture us. His face stayed that ominous smile, his gaze locked on mine. I shook off the dread crawling in my thoughts. I kept my weapon raised, my voice cutting through the storm, authority ringing hollow against the silence he carried. He didn't stop. He mocked every word, twisting my command into bark without bite. His promise hung heavier than thunder. Surrender the boy, or the station would drown in blood before the night was over. Then, as a response to the blood-curdling threat, I moved without hesitation, signaling Shannon to guide the family toward the back of the precinct. Her flashlight carved a wavering corridor through the dark, walls closing in with every flicker. The parents stumbled after her, Philip clutching Andy's limp body, Moria close behind, their footsteps frantic, echoing through the drowned halls. Ellis straightened further, bones snapping in sequence, spine lengthening, his frame stretched higher, broader, until he matched the description we'd all prayed was false. Menace radiated from him like heat from an open furnace. His eyes burned brighter, locked on the retreating family, hunger unblinking. Then he laughed. The sound swelled until it pressed outward, spilling past the walls, rising above the storm. His words carried on the rain. Death was now a gift, and it belonged to us. His gaze never strayed from the unconscious boy. I steadied my grip, the weight of command heavy in my chest. If he moved, we would unleash everything we had. He only laughed louder, reminding us that no mortal weapon could end him, that he would simply slip into another person and continue the ritual. I clung to the single truth I'd already torn from his lips. Liars always choke on their own tongues. I had caught him once already, and now, just now, I caught him again. He claimed no mortal weapon could kill him, yet earlier admitted he must find a new host if this body was destroyed. That was the contradiction. If he were truly unstoppable, why would he need another vessel at all? Why hide in the shadows? Behind his host, we'll expose his weakness. Everything has an end, and his will be the end of my barrow. His irritation betrayed him. A crack in his facade, the first flicker of unease I had seen. I pressed into it, feeding tenacity into my squad. Fear had no place here. Failure had no place here. The only thing worth fearing was the moment we failed the boy, the moment we failed the innocent. They heard it. They believed it. Their grips tightened. Muzzles rose. The station drew its breath as one. Ellis's sneer twisted into a covenant of graves. In a blink, his coat tore away, his body rippling outward, and a gruff growl shook the station. The signal tore from my lungs. Fire! The world detonated. Glass shattered outward, shards carried by the storm of bullets. Muzzle flashes split the dark into stuttering fragments of light, each one puncturing his body, tearing flesh, spraying gore across the tiles. As the station lit up with violence, the thunder drowned beneath the roar of our weapons. Blood misted the air, hot and metallic. It was thick enough that you could taste it. He staggered under the onslaught, torn open by the storm we poured into him. Flesh shredded, ribs cracked, entrails painted across the entrance. We did not stop until the last shell clattered against the bloody floor, its ringing note the requiem of emptied magazines. At last, his body toppled backward, sprawling into the rain-drenched street. The storm swallowed him, carrying his ruin away in red rivulets. Silence returned, broken only by the hiss of rainfall. For a moment, the men breathed relief. For a moment, I almost let them. But nothing that wears a smile that wide ever truly dies in the rain. I signaled John Rhee and another officer with a curt motion, our magazines freshly loaded, steel heavier in our hands. Together we stepped into the storm. Behind us the precinct loomed as a dead shell, windows broken, murky and black, halls silent, stripped of power. No buzz of machines, no glow of safety, only the taunt of rain and the thin beams of our flashlights sweeping the dark. The city watched. Apartment windows split open, silhouettes leaning out into the storm, eyes glittering with morbid curiosity. Our flashlight rays converged on the ruined cadaver sprawled across the street. Rain scoured him, peeling gore from flesh, washing rivers of blood into the gutter. The bullet wounds gaped obscenely, swallowing rain into cavities of torn muscle and shattered bone. He twitched once. It was only a nerve resonance. Then he sagged flat and still. Alice lay shattered, his altar of deception torn apart. Then, out of nowhere, a woman's voice ripped above the storm, shrieking judgment from a high window. "Shame on us," she cried, "for killing a priest." I raised my beam until her face swam into view. A man's hand clamped across her mouth, dragging her words back inside. His eyes found mine, wide with fear and apology, and his voice broke through the storm, asking the question his wife had not swallowed. "Was it true that you shot a priest?" My light dropped back to the ruin at my feet. The truth stared back in blood and ruin. This was no priest. This was the killer we had been chasing through the gutters of the city. I swung the beam upward again, forcing it into the couple's eyes, into every window that leaned into the storm. Let them see the truth. Let them know what had really been walking their streets. The man nodded. Relief softened his face. He called it justice. He called it victory. But I felt none of it. The truth festered in my chest. The mind flare was not dead. It had only shed its skin. My men sagged under the weight of the night, their shoulders bent with exhaustion, their fear thick enough to choke on. That fear was the monster's weapon, its feast, its nourishment. I could feel it threading into them, pulling at their thoughts. I crushed it with the only hammer I had left. Resolve. Deny it. Deny the fear or be consumed. Strength was not in bullets, nor in bone. Strength was in refusing to break. I forced it into them, into the parents standing pale in the shadows, into Philip clutching Andy's unconscious body, into Moria's shuddering hands. Hold strong in body and mind. That was the only shield we had left. Nods came back through the rain. Fragile, wavering, but they were something. I lifted my beam again to the apartment windows, to them, to every eye that dared peek into this abyss. Shut your doors, seal your windows. If the city kept staring into the wound would spread. Then, the sky tore open. Lightning split the heavens, flooding the street in white fire. For one breathless instant, time froze. Raindrops hung suspended like shards of glass. The street a mirror drowned in silver. And at the crown of the apartment, etched against the blaze, a figure stood. Every muscle in me locked. The air turned to iron in my lungs. John Rhee's beam joined mine, cutting a trembling path through the rain. The thing on the rooftop leaned forward, slow, deliberate, as if acknowledging our gaze. It had no face, only a smooth, colorless head, motionless except for the faint quiver of the tendrils spilling from where a mouth should have been, tasting, searching, as if the rain carried the scent of its prey. Its skin looked stretched and almost translucent, veins pulsing faintly beneath the surface like trapped worms. Along its back ran a jagged ridge of exposed vertebrae that pierced through flesh, glistening under the storm light. From each shin jutted a curved spur of bone that extended past the knees, forcing its body into a permanent, predatory crouch. It was built for one purpose: to stalk, to seize, to feed. For a moment, lightning gave it form. Then the darkness reclaimed it. The rain whispered against my ears, but my pulse roared louder. The body at our feet was only a shell. The nightmare still lived, and it had found us.